Hey, what's going on, everyone? We are here back again with another episode of the Invest in Denver podcast. Love to hear it, love to see it, and I got a really excited episode for you guys. Chad Rocke, the legend, the man, the myth, whatever order you want to put it in. This guy is here, and he's the real deal. So we go from everything in terms of like where he came from, Milwaukee area, and eventually San Diego to the Denver area, and to a lot of people, he might be relatively new. However, he's delved himself into the culture so much that he just loves it here. He doesn't plan on moving anytime soon, and he also invests in Denver. Whoa, yeah. Drink one for the dropping the podcast name, but nonetheless, he loves the golfing. He loves the beer, and just loves that outside lifestyle of just being in the Denver culture. So there's something to be said about that. Really excited to have you guys just be a part of this, be an audience of it, and we talk about not only just the lifestyle but also the real estate portion of it. A lot of people might not seem too interested in that portion of it, but I think it's very valuable, especially when you know that people that live here want to just see the community grow and the economy grow as well. In the Denver area, it just makes you that much more of a believer in the community. So I love this episode, and you guys got to hear all of it. And really excited to show you guys and introduce Chad Rocke. Chad Rocke, welcome to the Invest in Denver podcast. How's it going, man?
Doing awesome. Yeah, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dude, it is my pleasure. You can't steal that honor from me. I mean, this is something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. And there's a reason why I chose you out of a whole bunch of different people, the other, 7 billion people on the planet, in order for them to be on the second podcast ever of Invest in Denver podcast. So, really excited to have you on, man. Just wanted to, I guess, just start out like, where did you, I guess, move from? And eventually landing in Denver. Just like a quick synopsis, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, for sure. So born and raised in Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin. Went to high school there, a very small town. Went to college in Milwaukee. So I moved down to Milwaukee and went to college there. After college, I was in the finance area and lived in Milwaukee for about 10 years. And then in 2016, moved out to San Diego. I always loved nothing, can't go wrong with San Diego, 75 and sunny every day,
Amen.
especially coming from Wisconsin. So moved out there in 2016, 2020, moved to Denver. And now I'm here. I've been here for a little over 2 years now.
In which part of 2020? Because in my mind, 2020 is just the COVID year. So I'm curious at what point you entered the Denver area.
Yeah. So it was, we came to look at houses in May. We had to drive because we couldn't fly. So we drove the full, I think it's like 18 hours. Stayed at an Airbnb, looked at houses. The very last house we looked at, that's the one we ended up getting. And then went back, moved like 4th of July, and drove back out. So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
That is quick. That timeline is just within like what, 45 days, something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was wild, but it was fun.
And what was that first property like in Denver? I guess where is it and what are the specs?
Yeah, for sure. So it is in Aurora, right by Cherry Creek State Park, 225 in Parker Road. It's a single family house, 4 bed, 3 bath. At that time, I didn't really know too much about real estate. We know we wanted to buy a single family house. San Diego was too expensive. We could get a condo for the same price as Denver, a single family house. So Denver's not cheap, but it's cheaper than San Diego. So yeah, 4 bed, 3 bath. It's in an HOA. I probably wouldn't do that again if going back, but it's actually worked out. There's like playgrounds, like 4 circles and a playground right next to my house, and a community pool. And now with a 1 year old, almost one, Olive, she it's great. Like pathways, and so it is one aspect of the HOA. It's $120 a month, so it's not like backbreaking by any means. So yeah, that's the first house. And that's where we're still at, looking to potentially move it out of there in the next 6 months or so.
Okay, for sure. So what is, I mean, I felt like I skipped a whole bunch of your timeline in general. I know you mentioned that you were in the finance space prior to, I guess, even moving to Denver. And did you transition to Denver still in that occupation, or at what point did you decide, like, you know what, I'm a realtor? And I guess for the audience members, spoiler alert, he is part of the FI team. So just thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah, taking a step back, I was in mutual fund sales. That was what I did from like 2015 to like 2020. So when I was in San Diego, I was working for a company, and obviously through COVID and the work from home, we wanted to move to Denver, and I just went to them and said, "Hey, we're working from home. I'm moving to Denver. Like, you can either let me go, or we can work from home from Denver." And they're like, "Well, we don't want to lose you. Like, just go to Denver. We'll figure it out." All right, perfect. Went to Denver, closed on our house on July 4th, had a mandatory meeting pop up on the calendar. And for all the corporate people, you know what the mandatory meetings mean, like spur of the moment, usually something fishy's going on. And it was like July 11th. We just moved in, had this call, and it was, well, everybody's getting let go. The sales team is being acquired by another team or another firm. And we don't know if it's going to be September, it could be December, it could be like next. So this was July, it could be like next March. We don't really know, but like basically, you're going to be let go. We don't know when. So at that point, it was like, okay, what I really like, and this is the transition to real estate. I take it a step back. I do have a duplex in Milwaukee. So I've always had this in the back of my head of real estate, passive income. I was living there and paying like $100 for the mortgage. I was like, God, this is great. I don't understand why more people don't do this. That was in the back of my head. And then this kind of layoff spurred. It was like, what do I actually enjoy? And it was that real estate. So I was going through the process of finding a new job in finance, just because it is scary leaving a paycheck and health insurance. And so I had a job lined up. I accepted the job. And like 3 days before the job was supposed to start, I called the guy. I was like, sorry, I can't do this. Like, I'm going all in on real estate. And that was March of 2021, basically. So that was when I was let go, or when it officially terminated. And then I jumped into real estate full time as an agent. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know if I would make a dollar or not, but joined Craig and the FI team, and figured I would learn some things, make some connections. And if I don't make a dollar, then, I guess I'll go back to the corporate world, but I'm doing it. So that was, yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, love the synopsis. And especially coming from the Milwaukee area. I mean, what a different area that you're living in now, especially going from there to San Diego to Denver. And, you were there for 4 years, yeah, over in the San Diego area?
Yeah. 2016, it was about exactly 4 years, 2016 to 2020. And I was working the mutual fund sales the whole time there.
I'm noticing a trend here, Chad, especially coming from Milwaukee to San Diego to Denver. You love beer.
That's pretty accurate. It is actually funny. Like hazy IPAs were just kind of coming out in 2016, and San Diego was like the capital of hazy IPAs. And so when I got there, it was great. Like, discovered all these beers, and then Denver I would say like is neck and neck with San Diego. Now it's kind of sprouted up all over the place, but yeah. And then Milwaukee's like the original, like Pabst and Miller, like so. Yeah, that's a good trend you noticed.
I mean, even looking at the Milwaukee Major League Baseball team name, the Brewers,
Exactly.
it's saying something. And I was genuinely surprised with the Milwaukee area. I've never been there myself. However, I've been seeing some videos of like Airbnb or like people just doing these vlog tours of Milwaukee, and it's actually kind of a cool place, like a lot of like riverfront parks, do everything with a beer in hand. It sounds like being drunk in public is not a frowned upon thing over there.
That's exactly correct. You hit it on the head. The summer is awesome. You have Summerfest, which is like one of the largest outdoor music festivals. It's like 13 days, like hundreds of concerts going on, like all at the same time. And you got the Brewers, and like people just love the summer there because the winters are so bad. So it's like Chicago, but in my opinion, way better because the cost of living is less, like less people, easier to get around. So it's like the miniature version of Chicago. But no, yeah, the summer's awesome. The winter sucks. That's why I left.
I noticed that too. Like, so I was born and raised in San Diego, for like 30 years of my life, and I came over here in 2020. But there is some sort of like from the phoenix or from the ashes rises the phoenix, like people after like the whole winter season, there are farmers markets, there are outdoor events, people are taking full advantage of the outdoor scene during the summertime, even here in Denver, where the winters are not as harsh, if you ask me. I mean, or if you ask a whole bunch of other people, because I myself am not used to the winters yet. I've only gone through two cold winters. Previous to me moving here, my coldest winters were like 50 degrees. And that was over in San Diego. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of stuff going on and there's a lot of events, especially here in the Denver area, and maybe commingling that with beer, it just has this sort of like sociable aspect to it. Are there any sort of like outdoor venues or places that you've seen so far that have, I don't know, just sparked your interest with just being in that communal area and, just living life outside?
Yeah, I think that's what Colorado's all about, right? Like, I think I saw a study that Colorado is the most fit city in America, because you have the mountains. Like everybody loves to get outside, exercise. You have the concerts, Red Rocks, the mountains, the hike. I mean, everybody out, like everybody does a hike every weekend. It seems like there's so many different hiking trails. So yeah, I think that's part of why we live here, right? Like everybody loves Colorado, which leads in, I guess, the real estate aspect of the house hacking. Like I tell my clients all the time, the first thing they ask of when we say rent by the room, they're like, well, who the heck wants to live with other people? And like, I don't want to live with anybody else. It's like, well, you'd be surprised. First of all, there's a lot of people that wanted to live in Colorado and Denver for the last however many years, but they couldn't because they lived in Chicago and their job was in Chicago. And now COVID, work from home, like boom, we can move to Denver. And can you afford a $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 studio or one bedroom and be locked into a lease for 12 months? And you just moved here, maybe not have any friends. So that scenario plays all the time where, okay, let's get into a room scenario, $800, maybe meet some like-minded people that go on hikes. Maybe it's a 6-month lease or a month by month or 3 month lease, has some flexibility, learn the neighborhood. And like everybody's always surprised of how the demand for a one bedroom, $800 is there. Like people love that. People always want to do that. So
And even nowadays, $800 is on the cheaper side, if you ask me. I mean, depending on where you're looking at renting that room, you're looking at maybe 900, $1,000, or even let's say Sunnyside or Highlands area, you're looking at maybe even 1,200 just for a bedroom. And it's not out of the ordinary. And the thing is like, there's so much demand for that walkability, for that lifestyle situation of just living in Denver, right? So I guess for those people that are doubtful, it sounds like you have an argument for that. So um, if you want to house hack, especially for someone, let's say, they're out of college, they're 22, 23 years old, and you know what? I want to get into the real estate game, right? Having that rent by the room situation opens up a lot more areas and a lot more houses for you to look at just because you can't really have that separation for all properties. But if you have enough bedrooms, that is something that opens up a whole new world for you. And so for those people that want to do the rent by the room situation, what aspects would you keep in mind as, let's say, like for property management, right? Or like for the landlord aspect. Before we get into the whole real estate aspect of it, let's talk about more of the lifestyle. It sounds like you have, I don't know, especially having a child and having a significant other and, you know, just being outdoors seems to be your vibe, right? You're an avid golfer as well. And what's some of your favorite courses over here in the Denver area?
yeah, for sure. My favorite public course that can be difficult to get on is City Park. It's a great course. They just redid it. They shut it down for I think 2 years, right before COVID, and then it was extended with COVID in 2020. But yeah, they just redid it. It's an awesome course. They have an awesome clubhouse and some good food as well. So it can be a challenge to get on. But actually, a tip would be to there's on the Denver Golf app, you can buy like a loyalty pass. It's called, and I want to say it's it's between $20 and $40. It might be like $30 or so. But you can buy this pass, and then you get access to book tee times 14 days in advance, where the general public gets to book 7 days. So if you don't have that loyalty membership for like $30, it's nearly impossible to book City Park. But if you get the pass for $30, then you can book out 14 days in advance. So you always got to be planning ahead a little bit. So yeah, that's one of my favorite courses. There's Kennedy golf courses right down the street from my house. It's very convenient. It's like a mile away. So I've golfed there several times. And then Common Grounds in Aurora is also really nice. There was a junior, like, not the PGA, but like the junior PGA event was held there a couple of years ago. So it's a really nice course too. And that's public as well.
So I will ask, I mean, I myself am not an avid golfer. Putt is definitely my go-to, but I have done a couple of 9 holes or 18 holes here and there. What makes a course great? I mean, it sounds like you have your preferences, and you being the avid golfer and preferring City Park, what makes it great?
I've shot my best scores at City Park, like, so that plays into it. um, I'll tell you what is I hate about courses is they're lined with houses because I'm not a good golfer. Let's just put that out there. I do it more so for just getting outside and drinking beer, like being outside, drink beer, and you golf. You can get away a little bit. Um, so that being said, if courses are lined with houses, I've hit a couple houses in my days. I'd rather just avoid that possibility. So, City Park, they have some houses across the street, which I've seen been hit before, but not too many. And I think the layout's just great. Like the proximity to my house, not that far away. It's relatively cheap. And so, yeah, I think that those are some of the reasons why I like it.
And you did a benefit recently with Thomas Daymel, Sterling, the Bank of England crew with, I don't know, I'll let you explain it, but I'm glad that you're actually doing a lot more like giving back to the community in the Denver area. And it's really exciting to see that like you can combine these two passions of yours, like giving back to the community and golfing at the same time. So you mind walking us through like how that event went and maybe when the next one is?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was a lot of fun. I'd give a shout out to Thomas. He set this up. Um, and we partnered with a company called Colorado Under Par. And basically what they do is they organize golfing events to raise money for charities. And they like every weekend or every week throughout the summer, they have different events at different courses and they partner up with these courses and they raise money for whatever charity you want to raise money for. So it's a pretty cool, and they got it completely dialed in. Like they know exactly what they're doing. It's like all hands off for the people putting it on. And so we partnered with a company called Earthlinks, and it's a homeless, basically a homeless charity to help support the homeless and give them education and get them back in the community and give them work. And it's an awesome organization that's based in Denver. Earthlinks is the name of it. So yeah, we partnered with them and partnered with Colorado Under Par, and we had the tournament the middle of July at the Ranch, which is in Westminster. This is another nice thing. It's a private course, but partnering with them, we got access to it. So it's an opportunity to golf a really nice golf course that you typically wouldn't have access to, and also raise money, for the homeless in this case. So no, it was awesome. We're gonna keep going. It's gonna be an annual thing now next year, probably July, probably the same time frame. But yeah, it was really cool. A lot of fun.
For those people that are not golf savvy, can they still be a part of this? And maybe they want to do like 9 holes or something like that. Can they rent clubs, balls, things like that? Or what's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a scramble. So yeah, for those that aren't familiar, scramble basically it's a 4-person team, and everybody on the team hits their shot, and then you take the best ball. So it's a very relaxed, fun event where, if you're absolutely terrible at golf, like you can't get the ball more than 20 feet in front of you, that's okay. You just go pick it up and you use the person that, they hit their good shot. So, yeah, super relaxed, super fun. You can certainly rent clubs and come on out and have a good time, raise some money for a good cause.
Wait, so you're telling me that if I'm on a team of 4 people and the best person out of the 4 is carrying me, I can have that score. Like, what's that? Is that how it looks like?
Yeah, so it's a team. You're all on the same team, and you're competing against other teams. And so, yes, like if one person carries the whole team the whole entire time, then that's the score for your team versus all the other teams that are participating.
I had no idea that it was called scramble. So when I was doing, I think it was best ball, maybe another term for it. So me and my cousin, who is much more of an avid golfer than me, he absolutely care. I think his back is broken from carrying me through the whole 9 holes.
Yeah.
But it was a blast because I could just slice it in whatever direction I wanted to, and he would, I don't know, just put it within feet the hole. I mean, like the dude's insane. So I had a blast doing that. So if you're telling me that someone else can do the work for me, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be joining next year.
I'd love to have you. No, it's great. I love that type of because yeah, I'm not good either. So just out there having a good time.
Solid. I mean, speaking of like a melding of two worlds, like with golfing comes beer, or at least drinking in general. So, you being a beer aficionado, you were graciously giving me a beer. This might not be, your preference of choice, but we got Snow Juice here, Snowbank Brewing over in Fort Collins, which is a little bit out of the Denver area, but nonetheless, like I'm glad that you're reaching outside of your comfort zone to look at these different beers. Is this something that you like normally do? I mean, I don't want to consider you an alcoholic, but like for like I guess events or parties or whatever, you're like, hey, this design looks cool. Let's try this out.
Yeah. No, I this one I just picked up at the local shop here. I've never seen it before, so I'll give it a shot. There is an app called Untapped, and you can go on Untapped and like put the beer in and see what other people rate it. Um, I tried to do that, but my phone wasn't loading, and so I was like, I'll just screw it. I'll just pick this up because yeah, this wasn't my absolute favorite beer, but it's not bad. But yeah, I always like to try new stuff. I would say just a couple plugs for some of my favorites is Outer Range. Outer Range is based in Frisco, so kind of it's a little ways out, but sort of on the way to Breckenridge. Um, Great hazy IPAs. That's kind of my go-to. So Outer Range is definitely up there, and but not everybody has it, so it's a little bit of a chore to try to find it.
What any other breweries that you can think of? Maybe I know Frisco has some really good beer, and one of my favorites is Cerebral. I
Hmm.
love Cerebral's excellent. I don't know if it's the IPA that I really enjoy. I think it's more the Pilsner over there. I don't know. I just like that crushability of beers these days.
Yeah,
Like there's a part of me like when I was in my 20s, like sure I was just using Coors Light. I mean, which is a local beer here, but I was just using that for like beer pong. But
sure.
I guess in my later 20s, I was considering I guess more of the taste of the beer so I can actually enjoy it, right? More of a sit down, a session kind of beer.
Yeah.
And as I go into the Pilsner and lager areas, I'm starting to realize that like, hey, like I like crushing these beers, like any other breweries that you want to give a shout out to.
Yeah, Knotted Root is in Netherlands. Again, I found that my two favorites are an hour drive from Denver, unfortunately. But yeah, Knotted Root does some really really good stuff, like smoothie type. If you like the smoothie, they also do a really good IPA as well. Again, a little bit harder to find, but there are certain liquor stores that carry it in Denver. So that's another one. But Cerebral too, that's right up there as well of another one that I enjoy.
Yeah, maybe there's some sort of like sentimental aspect of Cerebral because that was actually the first brewery I've ever been to in Denver when I went to go visit back in 2019 or something like that, where I think it was like New Year's Eve and they had a awesome food truck adobo that was really good. And I don't know if it was just me being drunk, but that was like the best pairing I've ever had, like Filipino food and beer.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, they do a really good job.
Yeah, dude. So I guess I know your focus is more on the realtor side. You're a current realtor on the FI team and you invest in properties here in the Denver area. I'm curious before we get into the specifics, why do you continue to invest in Denver? Wow, podcast drop, but I, you can invest anywhere. A lot of people that are living in California invest in different states because it's a little bit more affordable and things like that. But Colorado is not the cheapest state, but why do you keep investing here?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people ask, or even as friends or family, or even just people kind of leads that come in of, I want to invest out of state. And I always have the conversation with them. They don't, they're kind of just getting going. But what I say is, do you know do you know the area? Like, say, let's just take Cleveland, Ohio, for example. Like, do you know the areas that are kind of this path of progress in Cleveland, Ohio? The answer is no. Okay. Do you have a realtor in Cleveland? No. Okay. Do you have a handyman? Do you have a cleaner? Do you have a lender? Um, and so typically the answer is no for a lot of people. Now, if you do have the boots on the ground, if you have that team, you have some sort of connections, you know it, then definitely possible. But that's like, I know Milwaukee, so I would feel comfortable, and we're actually looking into Milwaukee as our next market. Um, but like I don't know anything about Cleveland, and without going there and without kind of learning and getting this team, it just, especially starting out, if you're just a newer investor, I always think it's easier and a little bit safer to stay where you are and kind the area. Like I know Denver inside and out of different pockets that are good. There's a lot of different laws, and you wouldn't know that unless you invest a lot of time in learning about each market. And so that's one reason of just the knowledge base of Denver.
Yeah, and you've mentioned earlier that you currently have like a primary residence and you were living in there with your wife and Olive, Megan and Olive, and you're looking for your next place maybe 6 months out. So what does that next place look like? Are you continuing to do that house hack journey or maybe like as an investment property? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, great question. So I've convinced Megan to house hack, which was a year ago. She would have not been on board. But we're trying to get financially free, and she's trying to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I've twisted her arm of like this, what it might would look like if we can house hack, we eliminate our biggest expense, the mortgage. That just speeds up, stay-at-home mom life for you. Like, what do you think? So she's on board. She's on board now. So the next house would probably be where we would live on one floor, probably the upstairs, and we would Airbnb downstairs. And so getting that Airbnb income to offset the mortgage, it'll be just that much quicker and faster where we'll be financially free. So that's what the next one looks like.
Yeah, I'm currently doing that too. The whole house hacking aspect is just such a good way to get in the game. And it's just a lower barrier to entry too. The loan products out there accommodate for those first time home buyers, like significantly more than, let's say, if you wanted to buy an investment property. 25% down is, on a $500,000 property, you're looking at 100 grand or 125 grand. That's kind of out of a lot of people's budgets. So when you're looking at an owner occupied loan where you can put down as little as 3% down, and especially if you're a first time home buyer, you can work with programs like CHAFA, other down payment assistance programs where they can cover your down payment and all you have to take care of the closing costs. I mean, that's only $5,000 to $10,000 to purchase your home. And like you said, the biggest expense is your mortgage. So when you're able to mitigate that mortgage as much as possible, let's say you have a $3,000 mortgage, you have two rooms rented out for $1,000 each. You're now paying $1,000 to live in the home that you want to live in, maybe in the area that you want to live in. So it makes complete sense to me. And I know you're sort of preaching to the choir, but I do want to back up a little bit with, you mentioned that you want to reach financial independence as soon as possible. And Megan wants to do that too. What does that mean to you? I obviously know what that means because we're on the FI team, the financial independence team. But what does that mean to you?
There's different levels of it. Everybody kind of quantifies what that level is, but to me, it's making enough passive income to cover your basic living expenses. So your housing, your food, everything, your cell phone bill, your utilities, blah, 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 blah. So that's to the point where if we don't want to work or we don't get a paycheck or something happens, we go on vacation for 2 months, we go back to Wisconsin, whatever it is, we have money coming in to pay our mortgage, to pay, the utilities. And so that's, I think some people call it like level one financial freedom, financial independence. And so that really is the first step. is to get there where, um, it doesn't mean some people say like the FIRE movement where you retire and then people balk at that of like, oh, like you're lazy. You want to just go retire where it's not being retired. It's getting your time back and it's doing whatever you want to do. I'm super passionate about real estate and like short-term rentals and helping people. So I would still, if I'm to the point where I'm making enough money to cover my expenses, I'm not just going to go sit on the couch and, watch The Simpsons, but I truly do love helping people. So I would continue to do that and be able to give, Megan more time at home with Olive. So
Yes. Okay, good. Good. So we have the same definition. I think the biggest thing too is there was someone out there, I think it was Brandon Turner or maybe even Gary V, where he mentions financial independence and what the levels are. So to put things into layman's terms, level one financial freedom is, or financial independence looks like you can fly a private jet. Level two would be you can buy a private jet. Level three is you can buy the New York Jets. That's significantly like massive tiers and they're like way different from each other. However, it just sort of put things into perspective of like, where do you want to go? What is the end goal for yourself? And if you just want to make enough passive income where you can live the life that you want and are not determined by some sort of W-2 job to have to operate your 8 to 5 schedule with a certain company, passive income and financial independence is the way to go. So I guess moving forward, when you became a realtor on the FI team, when did you join, by the way?
it was March of 21. Yeah.
Okay,
End of March 21.
for sure. And so compared to a lot of realtors out there, you're a little bit on the newer side. However, there's not that many realtors out there that even invest in properties. And here we are joining the FI team. And I think it's a prerequisite to even join the FI team. You need to have an investment property. And you have an investment property over in the Milwaukee area. And you now have a lot more short-term rentals and Airbnbs here in the Denver area. We'll get into that later. But going from those first maybe like 6 months of being a new realtor in a pretty much new area for you, what was that transition like? And would you recommend it to anybody or maybe a select few people?
Yeah. Great question. So it was definitely scary. I alluded to before, like I didn't know anything. I knew I had a property in Milwaukee. Like you have to have an agent. Like that's to the extent of kind of what I knew. And I knew I wanted to invest. That's how I originally got connected with Craig, was just actually talking to him about, investing in Denver. And then it kind of morphed into like, oh, we have a team. Would you be interested? And then my company laid me off. So then kind of those conversations evolved. Um, but no, it was very scary. Like I didn't know, like I said, I had that job lined up because I went through interview after interview after interview and like people just ghosting me, like just, the corporate life, like just people are rude, like I spend all this time and then they don't even get back. That kind of even drove me even farther. Like, screw these people. Like I don't need a 9 to 5. I'm just going to go figure it out on myself. And so, yeah, it was scary to leave. I didn't know if I'd make a dollar or not, like I had said, but, it kind of just snowballed really of got the license, joined the team, got up and running with the training and, got my first lead in and was working and that got extended out. It was kind of a nightmare. It was a very difficult closing that got extended out like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And in that time, just got another lead in and they were interested. And then, got another lead in and talking to them. And it really spiraled quickly. I was really passionate about it. I was loving what I was doing and just super, super busy. And then got a one from one of the people I was working with. He had sent me his buddy. And so I was like a referral lead. Like, hey, talk to this guy. He's looking to get into real estate. I was like, oh, okay. Talk to him. And now that guy's bought 2 houses with me, like an Airbnb and another house hack. So really like the experience was awesome. I didn't know anything. I just kind of took a leap of faith and things worked out. I was passionate about and loving it. I think that's the biggest thing of if you love what you do, I think that comes off, and the passion comes through. So it's definitely 100% doable, but it was a lot of work. I mean, it still is a lot of work for sure.
It's amazing to hear, like, especially even just real estate agents that just get into the market and are completely new to the market. However, you have this base experience of investment properties, like you having that duplex in Milwaukee sets you apart from most realtors because maybe even some realtors just rent, like they don't even know what that transaction looks like on their own, personal residences. So here you are now like buying investment properties and not only working with people that want to get on that financial independence train and real estate is the best pathway to get there, but they also want to make sure that they're living in a comfortable area that they would like to house hack in, right? Because ultimately, when they buy a property and rent out the rooms, they want to like the living conditions and like the area too. So I guess before we go a little bit more, how do you define house hacking?
There's different levels of it. So what I put out there to people is there's comfortability versus profitability. And where do you fall in that spectrum? So one level of house hacking, one version of house hacking is you buy a house, call it a 5 bedroom or 6 bedroom, and you live in a van in the driveway. Like that's your house. Then you rent out all 6 bedrooms, so you're making money on all the bedrooms. Um, Another version of that is you live in that house. Shout out to Craig here behind a curtain, like on a couch, which I know some other people on our team have done that, and people do that. Like if you're comfortable with that, and like if you're in your 20s or even 30s, and maybe you're single, like no family, no girlfriend, no wife, and you just want to pile on that cash, like by all means, live on the couch or live in the driveway. So that's like the profitability side of it. The comfortability side of it is sort of what I'm doing now. Some people call it the nomad strategy, where you buy the single family house, you live in it, you pay the mortgage, and a year from now you move, and then you just rent out that original house as a rental. But the only downside I've found of that is you have to move. Like that's it. You have 3% down, so typically you can save up 3% over the course of a year, and especially after you get your first one, because now you're having income coming in. So it's relatively easy to save up that down payment of 3%. And that's the comfortability side of it. And then there's everything in between. Of another version that seems to work for a lot of people is like a single family house where you have two separate units, and you could live in one unit, you have your privacy, your dog, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it might be, and then you Airbnb upstairs or short-term rental or house hack upstairs by renting by the room. So to answer your question, there's different variations of it. You can do whatever you want. There's a short term, there's a mid term, there's a long term, there's a rent by the room scenario. So I think house hack is more just this broad term, but there's a strategy for everybody. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and I myself am doing one of those strategies where I'm currently living in the basement over in the Westminster Sherrillwood area, and it's a 2 bed, 1 bath downstairs, 2 bed, 1 bath upstairs. And right now we're operating the main floor, the upstairs, as a short-term rental in Airbnb. And it's sort of becoming a buzzword these days, like having Airbnb sort of floating around the media. And I can only imagine when Airbnb was first pitched to, I guess, the C level, the C-suite level people of like, what if we had strangers stay in our home?
Yeah, for
And
real.
I wanted to be there in that meeting, like how they pitched that. But nonetheless, it has taken off and it has taken the world by storm, and it has now gone international. And you see these meme pages or Instagram pages where people just see these gnarly situations or like living spaces of like either stargazing or like you're in a rainforest and now you're living in a hammock or something like that. And it's amazing what people do with these places, but on a much smaller scale. That's what I'm operating on my current Airbnb. And I'm house hacking and we only put 5% down on the place. So what you're saying is completely true. And we are living testaments to like the easy, low barrier to entry, components of like finding that primary residence and working into that and living off of that. So I guess going more into your portfolio at this point in time, what does your portfolio look like, and what's your strategy with those?
So I'll just quickly hit on again, the first property was in Milwaukee. It's a duplex. I bought in 2015 for 187. It's approaching now, I think, 300. Obviously, as the whole country is kind of blowing up the last couple of years. And I was self-managing that from San Diego, from Denver, and I've literally had to replace a water heater and a garage door, and that's pretty much it. It's been, knock on wood, it's been very simple for that it being so far away. I've recently, and I had a friend in there who was kind of my pseudo property manager, so it's been working out. And I gave him a discount and kind of to watch things, and then there's a friend of a friend living upstairs. And so needless to say, I haven't been cash flowing great on it, like maybe $200 or $300 a month. Recently I've transitioned to a property manager. My friend left, the upstairs person left, everybody left, and turned it over to property manager. Now I should be cash flowing about $1,000 after the property manager fee. So I should have done this a long time ago, but rents have gone up and it's great. Now it's hands off. He handles everything and cash flowing about $1,000. So that's that property. It's been great. Then fast forward to Denver, have the single family house. We kind of talked about that, about nomad strategy, looking for the next one in about 6 months or so. And then so I do have 5 short-term rentals in the Denver area. I've partnered up with people on those. And if you would have asked me literally 1 year ago today, I had 0. And I pretty much knew nothing about short-term rentals. I was at that point, I was a realtor, and I was, focusing more on kind of just getting going and focusing on the rent by the room strategy. So that was my go-to. And somebody on our team, I'll give a shout out to Alexa on our team. She was like, "Yeah, I'm living in one unit, and I short-term rental the basement, and we're making like, I don't even know, 1,500 or 1,000 or 2,000, whatever dollar. She was making like good money, and she's living for free." I'm like, "Okay, I'm doing that. Tell me more about this." That was basically like July of last year. I'm like, "Okay, that's what I'm doing." I had a partner or a buddy who I used to work with in San Diego. He was living back in Connecticut, and he was like exploring bigger pockets. And he's like, "Well, I found this house in South Carolina. It looks like a great deal." And going back to what we previously talked about, like, do you know anybody in South Carolina? Do you have a boots on the ground? You know the area, the realtor, the handyman, like cleaner. Like, what are rents like? Where's the path of progression? He's like, "No, I don't know anything." I'm like, "Okay." This is through multiple conversations, but okay, I'm here in Denver. I know the area inside and out. You have the job still. Let's do a vacation home. So we bought our first one in September. It was basically the same day Olive was born, beginning of September. I wasn't at the closing because I was in the hospital, but Chris, my business
Not the other
partner
way around.
and friend, yeah, he did the closing by himself, and we got our first property in close to you in the Sherwood area, just north of Denver, and have been running that as a short-term rental. And then Chris was back in San Diego talking to some of our other buddies, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have an LLC with some other people. We own 3 properties in Memphis." And we were, he was showing them the numbers, talking about what we're doing. And that guy's like, "Okay, we're in." Like, set a call with them. They're like, "Yeah, we'll go in with you guys in the next one." So it was January. We closed on our second one. So me and Chris, the original partner, partnered up with another LLC. We got that one in January, and then it was shortly after that, like maybe March. I was introduced to somebody who was looking to sell their house, or they wanted to move to Grand Junction, but they didn't know how to move there and keep their house. So I was like, "Okay, don't sell your house. Let's figure this out." So we'll sign a lease. So this one we arbitrage. So an arbitrage is basically we're renting the house from the owner, and then we Airbnb it. So we furnished it. We put up on Airbnb. They're totally cool with it because it works out for them. They got their house at Grand Junction. They have their house here still that they always move back to. They put a lot of work into it. So that was the third one. Basically that same month, the fourth one came about as somebody else a former person on our team. Her husband works in like kind of the flip space, and so they flipped a house and they were running it as an Airbnb, and they just wanted to get their money out and kind of focus more on flips and other strategies. So I'm like, and this was like March-ish when it was just insane, like February. I think like the housing prices were insane. Supply was so low. I was like, do not sell that. Do not put that on the market. I will either buy it myself or I'll find someone to buy it. She's like, okay. So partnered up with me and Chris again, the original partner, on a third partner who's actually Thomas, our now our go-to lender, great lender by the way. Um, so us three have that fourth house, and it was already furnished, which is awesome. The furnishing part of it, setup part of it is it's a lot of work, but it's like temporary. 3-4 weeks of grind, maybe 5 weeks of just grinding, and then you're done, and then you just run it as an Airbnb. So got to remember that. But this one was furnished, so it was great. And then that was the fourth one. The fifth one we closed on in May. And so this one now, Chris and his brother Mike live in the basement, and we Airbnb upstairs. And so Mike's kind of been brought onto our team now. He's our property manager. Between the three of us, we kind of self-manage all of these properties, but Mike does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to that. And so, yeah, kind of sped through all those in 30,000 foot overview. But from September of last year to today, was able to partner, scale super quickly, got things kind of systems dialed in now, and have five that, of course, I don't own them all, but they're partnered up on all of them, and it's been great. Learned a ton.
I absolutely love it. I mean, as far as like what you've accomplished in such a short period of time, I mean, like you said, it's only been a year and you would have been like, hell no, there's no way I could have owned 5 properties by now, all of them, or most of them being short-term rentals, right? So with that being said, it sounds like you're partnering with most, if not all of them. And the whole aspect of partnering up with people and utilizing other people's money and making sure that your capital is not at risk most of these times is something that a lot of people forget, that hey, you're providing an opportunity for some of these partners. A lot of people think that hey, I have to put 20% down even if it's my primary residence and it has to be my money. It's not necessarily the case, and you are a true testament to that too, Chad. So I'm glad that you've been on the team longer than most people on the team right now, and this is a pretty young team. And a lot of people that are agents on the team are also investors. And that's the reason why a lot of people like to work with the FI team. It's just because we know what to look for in an investment property. And having you be the advocate for working with partnerships, working with Airbnb and in several different parts around Denver, it just makes total sense for, I don't know, creating that demand and just bringing the economy from out of state into the state and having people just enjoy the Denver community and just be ultimately just have a good time, whether it's with their family, with their friends or whatever, from Red Rocks to breweries to restaurants that are like, the food scene here is amazing as well. I know I'm sort of like going on a tangent here, but like, I guess with the short-term rental and the Airbnb space, there's something to be said with the amount of people that want to stay in your property. And Denver is always going to be a sought after location just to like hang out or do some water sports or check out the mountains or things like that. So you're providing like a quality place for them to stay. So a lot of people don't realize that, but it's a lucrative business at the same time, right?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head. Yeah, I think Denver's at one of those cities where it's a major metro where you have everything and everything, every reason people are going to be always coming here for different events or whatever it might be. So no, it's been great. And yeah, I mean, I guess just going back to quickly on the partnership, like even more so of asking if I'd have 5 properties, I would have said no, but I was literally like in August or July of last year listening to those podcasts, Bigger Pockets podcasts, and talking about partnerships, and they're like, yeah, it's you just got to get out there and ask people, ask your friends and family. I was that person saying I don't have friends, like, or I mean I don't have friends that would want to do this. I don't have like family that would want to partner up, and like, so that's not an option. And I hear that all the time, and I think that's a lot of people's mindset of, well, I don't have the resources. And it was literally just one conversation with a friend, coworker, and from there it just people kind of started to come out of the woodworks. And the biggest thing too is proof of concept. I mean, that's, you get one. I mean, even if you buy one yourself with that 3% down and you're living in it for free, and then you have the upstairs bringing that income in, like boom, you have proof of concept. Like that's going to go so far in talking to friends, family, whoever it might be, where those partnerships opportunities are going to come up more and more and more. So I just want to give that plug too. And I was just talking to someone at a meetup last week. He's desperate to find money because he's got the proof of concept. He's got a house hack in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and he wants to get another one. He just doesn't have the capital. I'm like, you have the proof. Like, go tell everybody under the sun. Like, write your business plan out. Put down to paper, like, this is my expenses. This is my income. I'm living for free. And you broadcast it out on social media and tell everybody, like, somebody will come out and say, like, hey, I don't like what you're doing. Tell me more. So
This sounds a lot like Taylor. Is this Taylor that you're talking about?
the Cheyenne?
Yeah.
No, this was
Oh,
a
different guy.
guy I just met at a meetup last week randomly.
For sure. It's funny because I keep running into the same guy, and kudos to Taylor, the guy I'm talking about, because he also has a
Oh,
Cheyenne.
I'm sorry. It is Taylor. I was gonna,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I was confused with somebody else. But yes, it's Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, the dude has drive and
Yeah.
the dude is motivated, and love that aspect about him. And he's going to all these meetups, and I love that aspect about it. And the fact that he's going out to all these meetups too just proves that, like, hey, I'm in it for the long haul. And partners, future partners, like capital partners, like to see that in people. Like, I'm not going to leave at the first sign of a water heater breaking, like, I want to make sure that this investment is good for you, good for me, good for the business in general. So,
No, I think it's only a matter of time before he finds somebody. I even kind of considered it myself. Like, all right, how can we make this work? Because he sold me on Cheyenne, by the way. It seems like Cheyenne seems like a next up and coming. It's a city that nobody's talking about, but he sold me on it of it could be up there. So
and we're not too far away. We're maybe
no,
like what, hour and a half, 2 hours or something like
yeah,
that.
about an hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Solid, man. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Chad. I know you're a busy guy, especially being on the FI team. And a lot of people hit you up on the FI team as far as like seeking guidance and shoot, even getting to your level of like 5 units. So all of this stuff is amazing information. And it's incredible what podcasts can do when you can actually pick the mind of people that are in the place that other people want to be in. So I love it. Any sort of like parting wisdom or investing advice or anything like that for you or from you before I get you out of here?
Yeah. A little bit to what you just said of like I always say like surround yourself with people that are where you want to be. That was kind of my mindset before I even like thought that was the mindset, but like I'm going to go join Craig's team because Craig's been successful. I'll learn from whatever, lender contact, or maybe I'll meet a contractor, I don't know, someone in the wholesaling space, and just put yourself out there. I'm always the mindset, like everything always works out. If I wouldn't have made $1 in real estate, then, just go find another job. Like it is what it is, but everything works out for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Everything works out in the end. And so, yeah, if you're looking to get into investing and just, I guess, a little scared or nervous to take the leap, like go to a meetup, like meet somebody, like talk to somebody that has done it. And that's another thing about, especially in the house hacking community of Denver, and like what we've kind of grown here, this community, like everyone is super, super helpful. We all want to get to the same spot of financial independence, and everyone will help each other get there. It's not like there's no commitment. There's no pressure, but if you have the drive, or like if you want to get to that spot, like just take action. Like what are you doing to get there? You can only read so many books and listen to so many podcasts, but just get out, set up that phone call with whoever you've been wanting to kind of follow. Or so yeah, that's my words of wisdom.
Love it, Chad. This is the good stuff, and this is the stuff that I want on the podcast. So thank you so much for being the second guest ever on the Invest in Denver podcast, man. So I'm sure we'll have you on at a later point in time when you have 10 plus units. And maybe if you go into commercial too, I'd love to hear about that journey too. But nonetheless, I appreciate your time, man, and we'll talk later, I'm sure. Yeah, what a sick episode. I know with Chad being on here, it was just a blast to hear him on. And like I said, multiple times in the podcast that he's the grandfather. I guess not exactly the grandfather or the founder or anything like that, but a lot of us on the FI team go to him for advice, wisdom, just a path to get to our next destination and find that path of least resistance, right? So he's definitely the guy to go to, and a lot of people look up to him, especially on the investing space, but also he's involved with the community as well, especially like being a part of that fundraiser and involving golf at the same time and starting that annual fundraiser for helping out the homeless, especially in Denver. It's nice to see that he's reinvesting into the community and having fun while doing it. So there's not that many people out there that give back to the community, but he's definitely one of those people, and you can kind of see it too. And he's raising a kid here as well, and it's nice to know that there's something for everyone here, and there's a lot more to give to the community. So, along with that, if you guys have any other questions with investing in Denver, or curious about Airbnbs, or even if you want to be a realtor here in the FI team, I'd love to be of assistance for you. This is something that I do day in, day out. This is my full-time job. I get to do podcasts for a living. This is amazing. So I'm ecstatic about it, and I want to help more and more people get into the community, get involved, and also start investing in Denver. So can't wait to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments or ratings, like, subscribe, everything like that. So I would love to impart a lot of my knowledge, if not all of my knowledge, onto you. It's just a matter of committing to it and doing the actions required. So looking forward to it. Stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you guys later.